The show can't start until we crack open a bottle of Revelton. Whether it's their crisp, clean vodka, the bold spice of their rye whiskey, the rich smoothness of bourbon, or the original honey whiskey that started it all, every pour is a taste of craft and passion straight from the heart of Iowa. So pour yourself a drink, settle in, and get ready to relax, laugh, and enjoy the show.
Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
If you want to know where the storm rolls next, you got to read the clouds over old Midwest. Every yard, every basket, every mat that's worn, you learn to see the future by tracking the storm. We're tracking the storm, watching it form, from Jack Trice's courage to the heroes yet born. Hilton lights shining like lightning in the night. Jack Trice way, glowing in the stadium lights. From the sweat in the barn to the roar in the stands, every cyclone story's written in the land. Yeah, the path gets clearer with each legend swarm. We're keeping eyes on tomorrow by tracking the storm. Dwayne Crutchfield, pounding turf like rain. Big 8 Saturdays, driving through the pain. 2 years, rushing past 1,000 on the ground. Made the whole conference feel that thunder sound. Then Troy Davis hit the hole like a flash. Back to back 2,000, turn records into ash. Heisman nights, but win or lose that day, the cyclone in his chest never blew away. Seneca rolled out, crowd holding its breath. The run cut like lightning through Tex Red West. 112-yard touchdown, 100 yards more. Sometimes a single scramble rewrites the law. So if you want to know.
Well, Kent, we're back for another show. I guess they're keeping us around for a little while anyway.
A little while longer.
Yeah, right. Well, I tell you, if they question anything, they're going to get their excitement tonight with our guest. Coach Hudson is he's a gem, man. I've known him. I've known him since 1980. I think you've about the same. You had a couple years with him, and talk about a success story. For those of you that have an excuse for why something didn't work for you or couldn't get it right, we're going to take care of that tonight. And for those folks out there that know what it's like to see success and what a successful person looks like, they're going to relate real well to Coach Hudson. Clarence Hudson, great friend of mine now as a coach, industry leader in several different areas, and we are so blessed to have him on the show today. Coach Hudson, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing really well, and just thanks for having me on the show. I'm blessed.
So are we. We're very excited about it. I know, going all the way back to the summer of 1980 and going to my first Iowa State football camp, and you guys were there, and I'll never forget it. It had to be 130 degrees on the turf out there. And this guy comes walking onto the field with a booming voice. Ain't no place I'd rather be. And it acts like he's swinging a golf club, man. It was awesome. It was awesome. Going back a long, long time.
I still have that habit. My wife the other day said, "Is that all you ever do is think about golf?" And I did say, "No, hon, I think about you in between swings."
That's awesome. Anyway, we just want to, thank you for coming on. We'll talk a little bit about your history, talk a lot about your book, talk a lot about what you've done, where you've been, people that you've been in touch with, the successes you've had, the challenges that you've had. We've got a couple hours to go through whatever you want to go through. If we get done in an hour, we're good. If it takes longer, it takes longer. So we're all
I like
good
that.
with that. It's a lot of Iowa State folks are joining in, and some people are going, "Who's this?" And then they realize, So I'm looking forward to. I know some of the stories that you had from the coaching days at Iowa State. I know some of the stories of your business world just because of the friendship that you and I have developed.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to hear it again, and I know there's a lot of people that really would like to hear what they got to say.
Well, there's some Keith that I can't tell. Those are the X-rated ones.
We're just a small little podcast, Coach. Nobody's listening.
Oh,
we
well,
can edit. We'll edit.
We'll edit. Okay.
Yeah, what do we got to do? So, Coach, I'm going to just kind of start from the beginning. Start with this. I mean, what a great read.
Well, thank you.
Yep. What a great read. Picked it up, got it the other day, read through most of it already today. Breezed through love some of the pictures in there. And well, that made it really good for me. A book with pictures in it helps. So that's really good. But talk about it, Coach. I mean, you came through you came up the rough side of the mountain. Let's just put it that way. And
well, one of the reasons I wrote the book was the fact that I wanted to emphasize to people that the fact that how you were brought up and how you were raised may look different from your angle than it did from my angle. Everybody grew up rough. I mean, everybody can talk about times in their lives when they had problems, no matter what side of the tracks you grew up on. It just depends on how you learn from that experience and how you grow from that experience and what you do with what you've learned. It's not a badge of failure if you grew up poor. It doesn't mean that you have to stay there if you grew up poor. It doesn't mean just because you were treated poorly that the next guy you meet's going to treat you poorly. That you can't use those experiences that were negative and carry those things forward for the rest of your life. At some point, things have to change and become very, very positive. If you'll do that, success is just right around the corner. So I wrote the book to say, yes, and you can go through things that at the time you don't understand. You can always ask the question, well, why don't I have, he's got, I want. But that's not going to change the fact that you're not going to get it. What you have to do is appreciate what you have, take those things that God has blessed you with, and then grow from there. And if you read the book, my grandfather, my mother's father was a sharecropper in Wynnewood, Oklahoma, back in the late 40s, early 50s. And from that sharecropping experience, he left in the middle of the night, walked 50, 60 miles to Madill, Oklahoma, built a shack on a corner of ground on the east side of town. That's where I grew up. My mother was pregnant with my sister at 15 and me at 17. So my sister was 18 months older than I. The father died when I was 2. So I never got to know my dad. And I know for some it's important. For me, would I've liked to have known him? Yes. But to hear somebody say, oh man, I wish I could see my dad because that's important to me. And that's probably the reason I'm like I am. I say, bull. That's not. You choose to be who you are. So anyway, I wanted to make sure that people understood that growing up, and I grew up in the Jim Crow South, drank from a colored water fountain. I rode at the back of the bus. Went to the kitchen at the restaurants to eat, couldn't go into several places in town. That was the legal part of my upbringing. The people part of my upbringing was totally different. People were just people. They didn't like the law as much as I didn't like the law because we allowed some eggheads thousands of miles away to make decisions for us, how we live. Now, I think that's very scary.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was riveting part of the book, just going through those steps with you and just knowing you the way that I do and just the pain and the challenge to go through it, but knowing you how I know you and the ability to overcome, to become is a lot more important than the circumstances that you want.
It's really important. And one of the things that I tried to point out in the book too is as you move along, if you accept who you are, and if you are determined to make something of yourself, no matter where you are, people will reach out, because there's no way you progress through life without someone willing to help, period, or without someone helping. And people reached out to me from all over. I kept my nose clean. I tried to do the best I can and work within the system. But people like the librarian, the counselor, teachers, coaches especially, let me tell you, the coaches were where I received a lot of strength, a lot of encouragement. That they said to me, you can make it. You can do whatever you want to do. Now, back in those days, it wasn't given to you. They didn't give you anything. And you hear the term sometimes, you have to work twice as hard to get something than someone else. Well, I had to work twice as hard as a rich kid. I had to work twice as hard as a kid that was better than me. You know, you always have to work harder sometimes, regardless of the situation. But old Harry Cheadle, he did not take favors with anyone. And that was a blessing for me, that he didn't take favors. I was the best athlete on the football field at times. And we all know that at times you're the worst football player on the field. But he never treated me any different than he treated my friend John Perry, who was a center, and John Perry was about as much an athlete as Gumby. And he'd tell you the same thing. He scored the highest score on the ACT and the highest score on the SCAT test in 1968 when he graduated than anybody in the country. So, and he was starting center on our football team. So,
how many friends you still have from your high school days?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious. The class of 68, there was about 65 of us. 68, I think. We used to say, ain't it great to be 68 and 68. And my friend Dennis always tells me that I'd have been better off if it had been 69. It would have been a better story. So, man, I'm telling you, all of them that are still alive, that I was close to, all of the Charlie Rogers, who rose to be the deputy director of the Department of Defense. He and I communicate daily, weekly. He lives in El Paso, Texas. Great guy. Has always, I could tell you stories that if they'd have known that before he went to become the deputy director, they wouldn't have let him. John Perry, the best man at my wedding, my best friend, I tell people. He and I communicate daily. I was best man at his wedding. He was best man at my wedding. So, yeah, I mean, more than I can, just probably half the class. That's 30, and then half the class is dead.
Wow.
That's a long time ago.
Oh, man. 1960. There are a lot of things going on in the United States in 1968.
Yeah. Oh, I love it when people talk about how divided the country is today. No, so divided. And I go, what? Go look at 68. Detroit's on fire. LA's on fire. Martin Luther King's killed. People are rioting. Robert Kennedy is killed. People are rioting. Kent State, name it. Go ahead. Vietnam War, the Cold War with Russia. You had the hippie dippies running around back then. Smoking weed was a horrible thing. And people were throwing up their hands. You look at, wow, divided today is nothing to compare to what it was in the 60s. You have Woodstock, the real rebels. You had Weather Underground bombing buildings, government buildings. You had the Puerto Rican gangs running around. You had the Black Panthers carrying guns into council meetings. No, and people talk about being divided. No, I don't buy it today. And I think it's just something they push to try to keep us divided.
I agree.
Yeah. I hope you can hear me now. I had a little difficulty before.
We hear you fine, Kent.
All righty. Good enough, Coach. You know what, when obviously at Iowa State coaching, we all had this, we are all of you, because just the way you coached, you were just so fair, so honest, tough, and we all wanted to play for you. I mean, Keith and I, we weren't running backs, but we wanted to be a running back because we wanted to play for you. I guess so. What those lessons that you learned, growing up, how did that carry over into your professional career? I mean, I know we can all say I learned from it, et cetera, but you have some pivotal points in your life that you fell back on in coaching or in your professional life, because you've done a lot, Coach. Looking back and how you grew up born on the 4th of July, I believe, as well, correct?
Born on the 4th of July in the greatest country God's ever seen or created. It's a wonderful country. I love America. It's a great country, and I am the original Yankee Doodle Dandy. So, Kent, the thing about that's a good question. The thing about what I learned is, and I learned it from a position of not being the best. Growing up in my little town in Medill, Oklahoma, I was never the fastest. I was not the strongest, and I was not the toughest. And so when you grow up in that situation, you have to fight every day. And being from a little small town, I was, after doing some research on the books, growing up, you don't really realize it. But in our little corner of the world called All Mill Hill, that was probably only 30 families. So you look at 30 families and you break down the demographics in age groups. When you went out to do something, you had 10-year-olds all the way to 21-year-olds in the same competition. And we competed every day, every season. We competed in baseball. We competed in marble. We competed at tops. We boxed. We played basketball with the bicycle rim. Found a piece of gravel that was empty down by the railroad tracks. And we tacked a bicycle rim that the tire tube had come off of up on top of the telephone post. And that's where we played basketball. That's where I learned to play basketball, on that gravel. On that gravel with the telephone post and that bicycle. Now you want to make a shot, and that bicycle tire thing is just waving around. You got to be pretty good to time it just right. But we'd go down, and some of the greatest battles you've ever seen would come out of that. Matter of fact, Leonard Fitzgerald, who I mentioned in the book, we called him Scroopy. He had one eye that would look at the North Star, and the other eye would look at the South Pole. And you never knew where he was going to throw the basketball, but he learned to dribble and to pass on that little plot of gravel up on All Mill Hill. And in the end, he was the first African American to play on the Medill High School basketball team, and they won a state championship that year. So you can learn things from just about anywhere and anyhow. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely right. So from Medill, you went to Southeast Oklahoma State?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And played football, and ran track?
I played football and ran track. Yes, sir, I did. In Southeastern Oklahoma State University today, they switched in 1974 from Southeastern State College. And I'll say this, it's not a badge of honor, but it will give people a little bit of a marker because he's a lot more famous than I am. Two people that went to school at Southeastern that I was there at that time was Dennis Rodman, who went years later, and then Reba McEntire came my last year. So I went to school with Dennis Rodman and Reba McEntire, or the same school.
Never.
Yeah, and after 40 years, I can say I dated Reba. What the hell?
Right. we all have those memories.
There's nobody left alive to dispute it, so
So how did you end up there? I mean, how did that look? The recruiting process back then. How did you end up at Southeastern Oklahoma? And how'd that work?
Well, I played football at Medill, Oklahoma, and we went to state my sophomore, junior, and my senior year. We were undefeated my freshman year. We didn't lose a game till my junior year in high school under Harry Cheadle. So he was our 7th, 8th, and 9th grade coach. We won every game. So when it came time to move for this group of kids to move to high school, they fired the high school coach and moved him up. So we moved up with him. Our sophomore year, the sophomores went undefeated. Junior year, we were on a roll until I broke my ankle. And when I broke my ankle, we didn't move on. We went on to the state playoffs, but we didn't go any further than the first game. So that was that. My senior year, we won all of our games except a little school by the name of Eufaula. And that year, Eufaula had Leroy Selman, Lucius Selman. Yeah, and that was our first game in the playoffs. And I don't care how good we thought we weren't that good. So we lost to the Selman brothers. I said, people say, well, you got lost to Eufaula. I said, no. We lost to the Selman brothers that year. They were really good. So from that, my high school, I mean, I don't want to get into the whole story about learning to read as a sophomore and all that stuff. If somebody wants to know that, they can pick the book up. But I had been encouraged and talked to, and given that little window of hope that there might be a chance. Now, no one that I knew had talked about going to college. No one on Oil Mill Hill had gone to college. My father, my stepdad, had gone to the third grade, and then from there on, he was in the cotton fields behind a mule, and then he went to work on the railroad. So he was functionally illiterate. He couldn't really read or write. My mother went to the 8th grade. She was good enough to function. She got by, mostly on her spunk, but she got by. And so that's what that was. There was never a newspaper. I don't ever remember a newspaper in our house or a book, really, until I would bring one home from school, and I didn't do that till I was a junior. So it was not for and I could go into why and all that stuff, but I won't. But I was encouraged by our high school counselor, a man by the name of Leon Scott, that I had a chance. And then I got a call from Oklahoma University. They wanted me to visit. So everybody in town encouraged me to visit. I didn't have any money or the know-how how to get to Norman, Oklahoma. I'd been to Oklahoma City once, and that's when I was about 9. So my friend drove me to my official visit at the University of Oklahoma. And at that time, Barry Switzer was the offensive line coach. Donnie Duncan was the linebacker coach. He was on the staff too. So as a senior in high school, I went to Oklahoma and had a visit at the university. Now, I knew at that time if I was going to have a chance, I needed to go somewhere I could graduate. I grew up in Medill. They had no idea from this small little town how rednecky I really was. They put me with a couple of guys from Ardmore Douglas, Oklahoma City boys, who took me on my visit that night, scared the bejesus out of me. I knew if I went to OU, that it would be. Granville Liggins was a senior at OU at that time, All-American, went and played in pro football, just a great human being. His grandparents lived in Medill, so Granville Liggins was there, and he had talked to me about OU, and I actually didn't turn him down. They picked another running back over me, and every time I saw Barry Switzer after that, I told him he made a mistake. And the guy they picked was Greg Pruitt.
Number
Greg
34.
Yeah, number 34, consensus All-American. I mean, 1,000, 2,000 yard rusher. Yeah, they picked Greg over me, and I tell them every time I see him, I say, Barry, you made a mistake. You should have took me. But yeah, they did fine without me. Greg Pruitt and Joe Washington in the same backfield.
Wow.
But it was almost Joe Washington and Clarence Hudson.
Yeah, right.
How about that?
You never know.
Yeah, never.
But then we wouldn't have met you. So that's
You never know there either. So anyway, Leon Scott ended up talking to me about going to Southeastern, and Clyde Smith was a referee. He refereed all of our basketball games. Now, I wasn't a basketball player, I break the stereotype, the old adage that black kids are good basketball players. Well, if you saw me play basketball, you'd swear I wasn't black. I was not very good at basketball. Good athlete, but I was not very good at basketball. All of my shots hit the front of the rim. I mean, I'm the greatest front of the rim shooter in the world. If you got it, if you got 1 point for hitting the front of the rim, I'd have scored 20 a game. So Clyde Smith refereed our games, and he was the defensive coordinator at Southeastern on their football team. And I averaged 6 points a game and 5 fouls. And I was going to get my 6 points, and I was going to get my 5 fouls. Because if you made a bucket on me, you weren't going to make the next one without getting pounded. So that was the mindset I had, on basketball court in the football field. It worked on football, but it didn't work very well in basketball. So Coach would sparingly play me maybe 3 minutes the first half and maybe 3 minutes the second half, because I was going to get my 6 and my 5 in that time span. So I ended up going to Southeastern. I went to Southeastern in 1968, where they had integrated the school or the football team in 1966, late 66. That was about 5 African-American or black players on the football team. Now, Durant, I knew about Durant. It's about 27 miles from where I grew up. And no one loitered in Durant if you were black. You didn't hang around that town at all. It was called a sundown town. And they had a big sign outside of town that said no blacks in. It didn't say blacks. It said the other word. In town after sundown. And so it was a little town, about 10,000 people. Big statue on the square said, a Confederate soldier says, "Least we shall forget." So that's where I went to school.
Wow.
In 1968. Yes.
Wow. So you went there, played for 4 years, got done with college, and got into coaching?
Whoa, man, that's a good one. But played all 4 years at Southeastern. My senior year, I'm telling you what, and everybody has felt this feeling when you get ready to get out of college. You've done you get to high school, and now you've gone to 4 years of college, and you're right there your senior year, and you're going to graduate. Woo! What am I going to do? I mean, it's a scary moment. You really don't. Now all of a sudden you're getting kicked out, and you're going to have to start adulting, and you just don't know how. And there's no reserve. There's no guaranteed future. So I really didn't know what I was going to do. And you stand around there, and just by the grace of God, Atoka High School in Atoka, Oklahoma, needed a football coach and a history teacher. And so I got interviewed, and lo and behold, they hired me. And away I go, 30 miles north of Durant, 50 miles from Madill. I go up to Atoka, which, by the way, is the largest county in the state of Oklahoma and also the poorest. When I went to coach at Atoka, they still had the rail outside the school where you tied up your horses. And by each chair in the classroom was a spit cup for the boys from Stringtown and the Ozark Mountains to spit their tobacco. That was my first teaching job. I coached football, basketball, track, taught history, and drove the school bus for $6,800 a year. So anyway, I was there for a year left, went back to school to get my master's degree. Stayed that summer. Really didn't know what I was going to do. I just left. It was a long story there. We can get into that one of these days when it's just you two and I. But we don't want to get into that on air. I could still get people in trouble. So we're back to school. We're sitting there one summer day, and a guy from out west in a place called Altus, Oklahoma, wanted to see me. So I go over to the placement office, and he's the hiring guy. He hires for their district, and he wanted to hire me as football coach. So I go out there and visit with a gentleman by the name of Jim Cromarty. And I'm telling you, the guy was amazing. He's one of the best human beings I've ever known, one of the best football coaches I've ever known, and one of the guys who probably gave me the best chance of anybody, because when I went to Altus, Oklahoma, out west, it's no man's land. It's what it is. Out by the Court Mountain, 6 miles from Texas, 50 miles from Kansas, 60 miles from Colorado. We were way out west, man. We're out in the corner. It's cold, it's hot, it's miserable. It's almost like a desert. Altus was the only 5A school in the state at the time, and there was no other 5A schools except one place, that was Lawton, which was 50 miles away. If we played anybody other than Lawton at our size, we had to go all the way to Oklahoma City or Tulsa. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. But there 2 years, the thing that Crow Marty did that blessed me, he said, "You're gonna be my secondary coach." And he said, "Butch Reynolds, Butch is my coordinator. You give Butch a sign on what you guys want to do." And that was it.
Wow.
And he just walked off. So Butch and I sat down, and Butch had no idea how to coach secondary, didn't know anything about it. He was a Native American that was a linebacker, nose guard type guy, and that's all he wanted to do. He said, "I'm going to tell you what we're going to do up front. You tell me what you're going to do in the back." Well, I didn't know, because at Atoka, I coached defensive ends and linebackers, and I played corner in college. I had no idea how to run a secondary and then match it to the front. No idea. None. Scared to death. I had no idea. So this was the summer, and every summer we have.
I hope we have some coaches listening to this, because this is cracking me up.
I didn't. I had no idea. Anyway, so I'm there, and I'm panicking. So we're going to the Oklahoma High School Coaches Convention in Tulsa, Oklahoma that year. And Gerald, who graduated a year before me, Gerald Odell, who by the way, Gerald Odell went to school. He and I went to school together at Southeastern. So he graduated with me the year before, and he had gone off. He was a graduate assistant at Oklahoma. And so I called Gerald. I said, "I'm in trouble." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, they want me to coach the secondary, and I have no idea. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never coached a secondary before. I don't know what to do." And so he said, "Let me talk to Bobby Proctor. We're going to be in Tulsa. You're going to be in Tulsa?" I said, "Yeah." And so he talked to Bobby Proctor. And if you ask anybody about Bobby Proctor, it may be one of the best defensive minds that at the time, for sure, in college football, and especially in the secondary. And again, I'm a nobody. I'm a wet behind the ears, 1 year out of college guy going to Altus, Oklahoma, and they didn't have to do this. Bobby didn't have to do it, but he said, "Yep, I'll meet with him. Tell him to be at my room at 8 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday during the convention, and we'll go to work." So I walk into his room at the Camelot Inn in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And there's a whiteboard in there. Not a whiteboard. We didn't have such things back then. I'm sorry. I got carried away. We had a chalkboard in the room that brought up, and the beds were pushed. The two beds were pushed all the way to the side of the room. And Bobby was sitting there with a piece of chalk in his hand when I came in the door. And he said, "I heard you want to learn how to coach the secondary." And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "So you ready to go to work?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I'll tell you this." He said, "By the end of the day, I'll know whether you can get the job done or not." And he said, "I'll be honest with you." And I said, "Okay." So I sat down in the chair, and he got on the chalkboard. And let me tell you something. I think they thought there was a fight going on in that room throughout the day, because we shuffle, and we bumped and pushed and pulled, and we did everything. I mean, it was from 8 o'clock, and we got lunch brought in, probably 5 o'clock that evening before he let me go. And I was plumb wore out. Of course, I still went to the strip joint. Anyway, hey, man, I was 22.
Right.
I left there with a treasure trove of information. That next 2 years We led the state in interceptions, in yards, passes, and I didn't have great athletes, but let me tell you, we ran in high school 11 different secondary calls. And we ran half man, half. We ran two deep. We ran two over the top coverage. We ran cover one, cover two, cover three, cover four. We put in a robber with a team that we were going to play that had a really good fullback who would catch the ball in the flat, and I put a robber on him. And everybody else would play three deep, and that linebacker would just run with him wherever we go, right or left side. Yeah, it was amazing. We had such a great time. And Crow Marty just let me go. He said, "It's yours." Not many people get that opportunity to build their own little package. And so 2 years I did that. And I can't answer the question of why. But I got a call one day from a guy in Amarillo, Texas. And he said, "Well, I did come out to Amarillo, Texas, coach football." And I'm going, I don't know. Where is Amarillo? I didn't know where Amarillo was. And loved Altus, loved being there. The one thing that made me do that I didn't like was coach basketball. I coached football, basketball, and track. And I taught 5 classes. Guy from Amarillo said I left Atoka at 68. I was making 98 in Altus. The guy from Amarillo was going to pay me 11-1, and I wasn't going to have to coach basketball, and I was only going to have to teach 3 classes a day, and I'd be done by noon. Year round, not just football season, year round. It was hard to turn that down. So I jumped on it, and away I went. Amarillo Tascosa High School in 1975. Our fight song was Dixie. Our mascot was General Robert E. Lee.
Oh boy.
You know what I did? I coached as hard for Dixie and cheered old Robert on as much as I could because they was paying me $11,000 a year. You know what? It didn't make us any better, and it didn't make me any worse. I didn't care. I hear these people yelling about statues. I went to school in Durant, Oklahoma, which is a sundown town. A few years before that, my dad was driving through Durant and had a wreck. He was going to work at Hugo, and one of the passengers could have lost his life, and he could have saved an eye, but he lost an eye because if they'd have done what they needed to do at the time in Durant, he'd have probably had an eye. But they wouldn't let you in the hospital in Durant in 1960, probably 65, 66. And so they waited for the ambulance to take him 50 miles to Hugo. And so by the time he got to Hugo, the eye dried out and bled out. And so he lost an eye because they wouldn't let him in. I laughed. Homecoming in 1967, I got a big old cut in my arm, and I'm sitting in the emergency room in the Durant Memorial Hospital, getting the tetanus shot and sewn up, and thinking, these are the same people that turned my dad down 2 years ago, 3 years ago. That's how. Once the laws were changed, there was small uprisings and small little bonfires, but the majority of Americans said, "Oh man, am I glad that's done. Let's just go and be Americans and be good people." And that's what happened in Durant. I mean, people said, we're glad that happened. No, there are always fools. Yes, there are always going to be some redneck, some angry person that's going to try to upset the apple cart, and the key is not to let them. So anyway, I went to Amarillo and was there for a football season. I was in Amarillo football season, and I'm sitting at home one Wednesday night in February. And February must be a weird month for me because a lot of things happen strangely. But I was sitting at home on a Wednesday night in February. The wind was blowing, it was cold and rainy. And the phone rang, and a guy on the phone sounded like he was from Mississippi. And come to find out he was from Mississippi. His name was Jim Wright. And Jim Wright told me he was the head coach at Wichita State University. Now, I had never heard of Wichita State University. I didn't know where Wichita, Kansas was at that time. So my first question to him was, did you say Wichita Falls, Texas? And in his Mississippi voice, he said, no, Kansas. And then, I don't know, it wasn't even 6 weeks later, I landed in Wichita, Kansas. A guy by the name of Philip Fulmer picked me up at the airport, and I became a shocker. Bingo, bango, bongo. Right. And that's how I got into college football. Long story. Hope it wasn't boring, but that's how it is.
No.
Lots of stories, lots of stuff in between there, guys. Lots of stuff in between, but that's how I got there. Now, Jim Wright had played football at Texas A&M when Bear Bryant was their head coach. What were they called? The Foggy Bottom Boys or something. They had a name, the Iron Boys or whatever they were called. When he took them off campus, you seen the movie?
Yep.
Where he took them off campus and put them in that dormitory and just ran them and beat them. And, if you didn't want to stay, you didn't have to stay. Jim Wright was part of that.
Junction Boys.
Junction Boys. Well, Jim Wright was a Junction Boy. And the head coach at that time, and I can't pull his name up, at Oklahoma State was a Junction Boy. And so Jim Wright had called him and said, do you know of a good coach that I need to hire a coach? It's short time. Spring practice is coming up here in 8 weeks, and I don't have time to barter. I need to get a guy. The year before, I had sent to Oklahoma State when I first got the guy by the name of Jerry Irons. And Jerry Irons was a German kid because we had Al's Air Force Base, and he had been born in Germany. But Gary Irons goes as my safety. I had him as a safety for 2 years at Altus. He goes to Oklahoma State, starts as the freshman, plays all 4 years. The coach at Oklahoma State said, you need to hire a guy from Altus. I wasn't an Altus anymore, but he chased me down, found me in Amarillo. So I ended up at Wichita State University under the tutelage of one Philip Fulmer, who he and I became great friends, still are today. Matter of fact, we had a townhouse together. We did almost everything together. Philip and I, at that time, 75, 76, I was 26 years old, and he was 26, maybe 25 and a half. I'm older than he is, by the way. So we would compete at everything. The reason I hate what's that stupid game you play with the walls around it and a paddle? You play in this little box.
Oh, not pickleball, like handball or racquetball.
Handball. It's not handball, it's something else.
Racquetball.
Racquetball.
What is it?
Racquetball.
Yeah, it's the reason I hate racquetball today, because Philip and I would play basketball. He couldn't beat me. We'd go out and we'd compete at golf. He couldn't beat me. He could not run me for sure. He's an offensive lineman. There was just not much Philip could physically, athletically beat me at. So one day he talked me into going into the handball court. And I figured, well, handball, racquetball, whatever, I can beat you at that. When he got me in that little building, he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to spot you 16 points and we go to 21. And he beat me 21-2. And that's when I said, that's not a sport, because if you can beat me at it, it's not a sport, and I'll never play that stupid game again. And I've never been back inside a racquetball court.
Coach, we're going to take a quick break here. We got to pay some bills, and we're going to when we come back from that, we're going to go from Wichita State, and I believe your next stop was the place of the Loyal Sons. So we're hoping to talk a little bit about that days at Iowa State and some of the things from there.
Yes, sir.
Right now, we got to go sell some stuff. So we'll be back in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, Each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
In the heart of Des Moines, one name has stood above the rest: Iowa Beef Steakhouse. Step inside, and you enter a place where tradition still matters, where the atmosphere feels familiar, warm, and unmistakably Iowa. Service isn't rushed. It's personal, attentive, and rooted in genuine care. And before the main event, the freshest start in the city, our signature salad bar, crafted every single day. Then comes the reason people have returned for generations: Iowa beef, hand-seasoned with pride. Guided by flame, forged by heat. This is where flavor becomes legend. Served with the same care it was crafted with, a meal meant to be remembered. And whether the night calls for bold, smooth, or something in between, our bar offers a selection as rich as our history, including the old-fashioned we've become known for: balanced, timeless, unforgettable. And long after the fire cools, the glow of this place stays with you. Iowa Beef Steakhouse, 1201 East Euclid Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa, where Iowa comes for steak, done right. Welcome back to Cooking with Billy and Willie. We're already in progress because great cooking doesn't wait. Today, we're turning things up with Naked Dave's seasoning and sauces.
You know, this chicken and the beef here and all this stuff is fantastic. It tastes fantastic with this Naked Dave stuff.
Oh yeah, dude, this barbecue sauce.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah, that's why we're doing the commercial for Naked Dave's.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're like pretend like we're naked. We pretend like we're naked, and then we eat. It'll be a good commercial.
It will be, for sure.
Hey, why are you really naked? You didn't have to be all the way naked. You just we were pretend.
It's supposed to, I wanted it to be like realistic, you know, like
Yeah,
Daniel Day-Lewis or
well,
something.
one thing you can keep the chair after this. Where's the director?
What's the problem? What is your guys' problem? It's fine.
What? Why's he naked?
I told him we were doing a naked commercial at your house.
This is like the worst porno flick ever.
It's Naked Dave. Look at Dave.
It really is good.
If you want bold flavor that doesn't hold back, try Naked Dave's seasoning and sauces. Find it at your local Hy-Vee grocery store. Ask your grocer to carry it, or order online today at www.littlewolffoods.com. And remember, Naked Dave's, you don't have to be naked to use it.
Hey, I got to add one more in here. We got Creasman Foods. You know Tim Creasman, Coach. Tim Creasman is also a sponsor for the show.
Hello.
Well, Creasman Foods is also one of the new sponsors for the show. Veteran-owned company. They're also part of the group that did the We Will Pizza. Tim was a player here at Iowa State. He says I was a shitty player. He was a great teammate, which we all want to aspire to be a great teammate. And he sells a different variety of different frozen pizzas. Partnered with the We Will Collective in 2024. So the money that you guys buy, the We Will pizzas, goes directly to the We Will Collective, which is now part of the Iowa State University. He's in 125 different Hy-Vees across Kansas, Iowa, and Minnesota, and in the center point at Brothers Grocery Market. So welcome Creasman Foods to the show, and glad to have them on board. So we're ready to roll.
Coach, so you from Wichita State, you came to Ames, and that was where a lot of us got to meet you. And man, can you just talk about that? How did that happen? And then what year would that have been? And then just a little bit about your time at Ames.
Can you hear us? You cannot hear us. Uh-oh. Sean, you got him back on? I can hear you, Coach. He's not hearing us.
Yeah, we can hear him.
Yeah, we can hear him.
Well, I can't. Maybe they'll bounce him off and bring him back on.
Yeah, it must be something like that.
And,
like that. I could hear him. I know he was when we went to the Creaston Food commercial. Are you there now, Coach? Can you hear us now? Nope. Oh, boy. Well, we can hear you.
I don't think he can hear us.
No.
So I know we'll try to work through that a little bit. And I think there are some questions that we want to get into when we get Coach back. One is time at Iowa State, working for Donnie Duncan. And for those of you that are familiar, when Coach Duncan was there, Coach, that staff that Coach Duncan had, including Coach Hudson, that was an amazing staff that he had put together there. You have us now, Coach? We can hear you.
Nope, still can't hear us. He might have to go all the way out.
Yeah, we'll have Sean take care of it. So we had, when we were there, when Coach Hudson was there, when you look at that staff that Donnie Duncan assembled, and I remember just being recruited by him, and it came at a time after Coach Earl Bruce was there. I mean, that's a tough act to follow now.
Yeah, right.
Because Coach Bruce had it going on, and we really want to get in touch with some of his former players and that played for Coach Bruce as well. That's a tough act to follow. But when you look at the staff that Donnie Duncan put together, here you have Coach Hudson, who went on and coached at Minnesota and was at successful businesses and the Iowa games, and just a tremendous leader. Then, Bobby Elliott, Mac Brown, Sparky Woods, Gerald Odell was a head coach and an athletic director, Charlie Sadler. Those guys, and they were all really young.
Yeah, really young.
I can remember getting recruited by
Jim
him.
Williams? Jim
Williams, my good. Well, Jim Williams was just an Iowa legend as well. I mean, Coach Williams, he was sort of the glue. He
112 and 8 was his high school record. 112 and 8.
And I think he'd served with Coach Bruce as well.
He did. Yeah, he sure did.
I think he was one of the that was retained from Coach Bruce.
I got a quick story about Coach Hudson. We were doing it was when the freshmen had just come in. No. The varsity was in. And I was quarterback at the time, and I was having a rough day. I couldn't do anything right. It was just one of those things where Coach Sandahl was like, he was nitpicking at every little thing that I could possibly do wrong. And didn't matter what it was wrong, And I was struggling that day. And I'll never forget this. I was walking off the field and I was pretty down, and Coach Hudson, gave me a pat on the rear and, keep your head up. And that day, Mark Perry and Kirk Thomas were sitting right next to me, walked me through it, stayed around with me. And I know that came from the direction of Coach Hudson is, hey, put your arm around this kid. Don't let them get going down the road or whatever. I was Coach Hudson to a T, was just mindful of everything. Can you hear us now, Coach? Oh my goodness, what is going on?
You might want to see if he checks his it's his audio set or his audio setting there. And you're right, Keith. And as you reach out to him, and that's who Coach Hudson was. When he kind of told his story about growing up, it made me kind of reflect back on who he was as a coach, because that's the guy we saw.
Yep.
You talk about your product of environment, and you learn to persevere, and you learn how to act and treat people. And he talked about his high school guidance counselor sitting him down and helping him, get recruited. Coach Hudson paid it forward, because
no doubt about that.
Exactly who he was.
Hope we get this microphone thing squared away for him. Or he can't hear us. I don't know if his phone was muted or what happened. I know they got muted I think you were muted when I was talking for the Creasman commercial. Were you muted at that time?
I don't know. I could hear you, but
yeah, I said that I was added to the stream. Could you hear us now, Coach?
Well,
this phone is good.
Huh. We can hear him.
I'm not sure exactly what we do in this situation, but
yeah, that's a tough one. We lean on our producer.
Yeah, right.
We lean on the producer. That's what you do.
Hi, guys.
And I hope we
Hey, Sean, how you doing? What's going on with this thing?
I don't know. His mic is not muted, and it doesn't even seem like he can hear us. So I just kicked him from the studio, and so hopefully he'll rejoin, and I'll be on the lookout.
Yeah, hopefully he can sign back in or whatever. But
yeah,
those are some. He's got some great stories about Iowa State.
I know he does.
Oh yeah, we're just getting to that point because some of his Iowa State stories. I mean, particular Dwayne Crutchfield. I mean, that's a book in itself right there.
Right.
Because we got to see it. We got to see Crutch live, and that was something else. The guy was tremendous. But I hope he'll jump back on here.
All right.
Does he know Keith? You can send him a text maybe.
I've sent him 2.
Okay.
I've sent him 2 different texts, but he hasn't responded.
I'm back.
There you are. All right.
I was waiting on you guys to turn me back on. I had no idea what was going on.
We could hear you loud and clear. You just couldn't hear us.
I could not hear you. No, I couldn't. So I
can't hear him.
You can't hear me?
Oh, I got you now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I was just sitting here watching you guys chitty chat.
Coach, you saw 2 nervous guys. I mean, you talk about saving the day. You can have Keith and I try to tell stories. No one wants to hear that. We want to hear you.
Yeah, right.
So I just rejoined the program.
Right.
Very good. Yeah. Well, I told the story just real quick about my freshman year where I was going through a tough day with Coach Sandoval, and you kind of took Kirk Thomas and Mark Perry, and you said, get a hold of him and be a friend or do whatever you told him to do, and that kind of kept me there from getting that I-35 look because it was a rough days there with Coach Sandoval for a few times.
Coach Williams used to call it going to Lake Aquabi.
Yeah. When we get to the point, I got to go to the inside drill that we had when we get to that point. When you handed me the play and the inside drill, it's one of my favorite stories, and it's a good time. But Coach, you left Wichita State, you got to Iowa State. Who made that call? How'd you get there? And then let's get into some of the unique players that you were able to coach at Iowa State, and also a lot of the guys that you brought in to Iowa State. So
wonderful. Well, I was at Wichita State University for 4 years. We got fired in November 1979. And anybody knows you've been in coaching long enough, you're going to get fired and have to move on. So we moved on. Earl Bruce was still coaching at Iowa State when I got fired. Donnie Duncan was still at Oklahoma. I had, knew Donnie Duncan from high school and from coaching high school. And I had run into Donnie several times while recruiting at Wichita State University. My territory was Dallas and Houston in that Texas area and Oklahoma. So I ran into Donnie quite often. So anyway, make it really quick. We got fired in 1979. Donnie had told me in the hallway at Galveston High School one day that I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to be a head coach one day. When I become a head coach, will you come work for me? And I said, yes. I heard that from other people as well. The Big Tuna. And I was sitting in Fort Worth, Texas, and he did the same thing, except when he moved up, he didn't make the phone call. Donnie made the phone call. I left Wichita State University on the 3rd of January for Lamar University in Houston, Texas. That was the only job offer I had received after we got fired at Wichita State. Because remember, no one knew who I was. I'd been a high school coach before I moved to Wichita State. And Wichita State is not somewhere you go to get notarized. Philip and I worked together 4 years. He left, and I think Philip went to work at Vanderbilt. Gerald Odell left Iowa State and went to work at Minnesota. I'm sorry, I'm still at Wichita State. So I had gone to Lamar University with Larry Kennan to coach the linebackers and defensive ends. I was there 23 days. Ohio State played Clemson in the Citrus Bowl. Clemson defeated Ohio State in the Citrus Bowl. The last play of the game, they threw a pass. Defensive back from Clemson intercepted the pass, did a front barrel roll, popped up on his feet, and Woody Hayes elbowed him in the throat. That night, I was sitting in Wichita in my apartment, unemployed, didn't have a job. And at that moment, I said, oh, that's going to open up 13 jobs at Ohio State, 13 jobs at whoever gets hired at Ohio State, 13 jobs from where that guy just got hired from. And so it's a domino effect. And in coaching, Kent, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You watch that. Who's getting fired? Who's getting hired? Who's going where? Because if you know somebody on the staff, you know of somebody that knows somebody, you make that phone call to try to get your name in there as a possibility. When that happened, I thought, whoa, there is an opportunity coming my way, I am sure. I got the call from Larry Kennan before all the things was going to go down went down, accepted the job at Lamar, flew to Houston, Texas, drove to Beaumont, and was getting settled in when Errol Bruce was hired late in January to go to Ohio State, and Donnie Duncan was hired late in January to become the head coach at Iowa State. On a Wednesday morning, I got a phone call from Gerald Odell, who had also accepted a job at Iowa State with Donnie Duncan. Gerald called me and said, Clarence, Donnie wants to talk to you. I know you've only been there at Lamar for a few days, but Donnie said he wanted to make sure that you were the first guy he called for the running back job at Iowa State. And I said, Gerald, I will call Donnie. I called Donnie Duncan on the phone. Now, you know Donnie. I mean, Donnie says to me on the phone, Clarence, I don't have a lot of time to be bartering. I don't have a lot of time to be negotiating. Do you want to be the running back coach at Iowa State University? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, now, normally you fly you in and we wine and dine you and we show you the campus and all that stuff. He said, I ain't got time for that. He said, so if you want to be my running back coach at Iowa State University, you got to come on my word. And I said, I've been to Iowa State. Wichita State played Iowa State in 1977 at Iowa State. And so I know about the new stadium and et cetera. And he says, I'm going to call Larry. And I said, well, Donnie, let me go talk to Larry. I'll go down and talk to him. So I got out of my office, walked down, and talked to Larry Kennan. Larry, when I walked in the door, Larry said, Donnie called. I said, yes, sir, he did. He said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to Iowa State. And this is the kind of man Larry Kennan was. And Larry said, we get into this business for one reason and one reason only. And that's to coach at the best in the business. He said, Iowa State in the Big 8 Conference is one of the best in the businesses, and there's no way I'm going to hold you back. He said, when are you supposed to be there? And I said, Friday. He said, okay. I left his office, packed up, went home to my little apartment that I had just rented, walked in, threw my clothes in a suitcase, and drove to the airport. And hopefully Pam had a ticket there at the airport for me. I got on a plane, flew to Ames.
Wow.
And that's I had never owned a coat in my life. I didn't own a coat. The coldest weather I'd ever been in was in Amarillo, Texas, and that was probably 35 degrees normal temperature and maybe 30 wind chill. I get off the airplane in Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm walking through the airport, and I look down at the rack of papers. Back in the old days when they used to set the papers out in the rack, you put a quarter in, get a paper. Yeah, the headlines. Wind chill minus 50. I thought I was going to freeze to death the minute I stepped out the door. It was It was wild. It was like being in the Arctic. I had never seen anything like it in my whole life. I didn't know people could live in that type of weather. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in Reggie Roby's kitchen, talking with him and his mother. The next day, I was sitting in Roger Craig's living room, talking with him, his mother, and that crew. Reggie wouldn't visit. He said, I'm not visiting. He said, because of Johnny Majors. He said, Johnny Majors ruined Mosley's. Is it Mosley?
Yep.
He said he ruined, I forget his first name. He said he ruined his life. So I'm not going to Iowa State. I didn't, Jerry Mosley?
Yep, Jerry Mosley.
I'd never heard Moses. I'd never heard the name before. And so I'm sitting in the kitchen with him, and his grandmother both said, yeah, the Iowa State ruined Jerry Moses' his career. And so Reggie's not going there. So I came back and I told Donnie, and I said, we need to do some research because I didn't even know who the guy was. Donnie says, yeah, we can do that later. Go see Roger. So I go to Davenport, Iowa, drove down there, stayed in Jumer's hotel. I had never seen ice grow on the inside of a window. And I'm in Jumer's hotel that night. And the inside of the window is icing over. I thought I died and gone to hell or something. It was so cold. The heater was up as high as it would go, and the room was still about -30. It was so cold. Roger visited Iowa State. We had a great visit. And I remember standing in the hallway on the Sunday after his visit, and he and Donnie were talking, and I'm standing there, and Roger said, Coach, he says, I really want to come to Iowa State. And so we shake hands, and he leaves and goes home, and I walk back to my office, and I barely get to sit down when Donnie walks in the door and says, you're going to Davenport, and you're going to stay with him through signing day, which was only 2 weeks away. Back then it was February 15th. So I hopped in the car and slid all the way to Davenport. I'd never driven in snow and ice, and I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do. I was just sliding down. I went down to Davenport, and next morning I'm sitting there at 8 o'clock in the morning outside a coach, famous coach at Davenport High School, won state championships. Fox? Wasn't it Fox?
Sounds right.
I think it was Coach Fox. And I'm sitting outside his office, and he comes out, how you doing? I said, I'm doing great. And he said, Roger, you had a good visit? Yeah, great visit. And I just want to make sure that he knows that we really want him. And he says, well, I'm sure you do. And I'm sitting there. About 15 minutes later, Tom Osborne, the governor of Nebraska, comes walking down the hallway. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, Tom stopped, talked to me. He's a really nice guy. And so, yeah. Roger went to Nebraska, by the way. Just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Yes. How about that? Yep, great kid. Great guy. I mean, I'm telling you, he would have been a great player at Iowa State. Of course, he was a great player at Nebraska. So I ended up at Iowa State, January 1979. Wow. Yep.
That's awesome.
We were talking just a little bit when we were trying to get you back on about the staff that Donnie assembled. And, you think about yourself, Coach Odell, Mac, Jim Williams, Sparky Woods, Charlie Sadler. Those might not have been some of the originals, I think, but there might have been a couple but those are the ones that were there that we remember. But I mean,
Larry Coyer, Bobby Elliott.
Larry Coyer, Bobby Elliott. I mean, Larry Coyer wins the Super Bowl with the Colts and a couple others.
Oh, Larry Coyer won, and he won the USFL championship with the Detroit Stallions,
Michigan Panthers.
The Michigan Panthers. He and Ronnie Osborne
and John Arnott, right?
And John Arnott and Joe Brown.
Yep.
And the other, what's the other defensive back? The strong safety what was his name?
Aaron Longshore.
He'd knock your brains out. No. He was from Florida as well.
Ronnie Osborne. Can you say Ronnie Osborne?
Ronnie Osborne, John Arnott, Joe Brown, and there was one other from Florida who was a really good player.
Crawford?
Larry Crawford.
Larry Crawford.
Yep, there's Larry Crawford. They were all with the Michigan Panthers when they won the championship in the USFL. Kurt
Bear was a quarterback.
Yeah, Kurt Dahl has a Super Bowl ring too from Denver Broncos. He was on that staff with Larry Corrier.
Oh, wow.
So you had Larry Corrier, who made one of the best defensive coaches I think I've ever seen. I mean, he was one of the first coaches in the industry to line 11 guys on the line of scrimmage from the defense. The offense didn't know what to think about it. I mean, you look out there, and there'd be 11 guys all up on the line of scrimmage. And you can see the quarterback's eyes just go googly goggle. Let me say this. That staff of Larry Corrier, Mac Brown, Sparky Woods, Gerald Odell, Charlie Sadler, that group of guys, Larry, unbelievably talented. Sparky Woods coached South Carolina with the New York Jets. Of course, we all know Mac's history. Charlie Sadler was a head coach at Northern Illinois University. Gerald Odell left the football ranks and became one of the best ADs in the country. And then he went to work for a sports organization that probably hired half the ADs across the country. Great, wonderful mind Gerald has. The people that were there were amazing. And Donnie was our linchpin. He was the key. What a human being that taught us how to be a leader, a friend, how to strategize, how to put game plans together, and how to motivate young men. And he was really good. And one of the, and I'm sure you probably heard this from maybe some of the other guys from Iowa State you've talked to from that era. We had a great football team. Man, I am telling you what, we had some really good players. Carl Nelson. What is it?
Bruce Reimers.
We had Carl Nelson, Bruce Reimers, the big defensive tackle from
Marcus Butts, Seamus McDonough, Chris Bosky.
The Boskys, the linebacker and the defensive tackle. Bosky was the first 200 and we never knew his real weight. He could weigh from anywhere from 250 to 310 probably. But he'd crawl around on the ground. He'd lay there for a few minutes, get up and waddle back to the defensive huddle. And then he'd slouch up to the line. His pants never fit. His shirt never fit. He looked sloppy. He looked like the guy in a small coat that lived in the van Chris by Farley. The river. He looked like Chris Farley. And he'd call up to that, and he'd get lined up. And when the ball was snapped, he'd be in the backfield so fast you wouldn't even know where he came from. And he was so good. He was such a great player. We had lots of those. Carl Nelson, of course, played for the New York Giants. He has a Super Bowl. So does Bruce Reimers. Brian Neal, a good guard, and Bomber, the big tight end that played for the Miami Dolphins. As a matter of fact, I think he caught I don't know how many passes from Marino. Good players.
Who was that running back that we had back then, Coach? I can't remember his name.
You talking about Victor Mack?
Nah, that's a different guy.
I'm about going to a different one. maybe
I know there's a lot of people.
Oh, you're talking about Dwayne Crutchfield.
Dwayne Crutchfield stories.
We hit the ground. We hit the ground in '79, and the season got over, and of course we went 3-8. It was horrible. Most of those kids that we're talking about were redshirt. Bruce Reimers and Brian Neal and Carl Nelson and Seamus McDonough, and all those guys had been red shirts the year before, so they were really freshmen when we got there. So we our eyes and ears were open pretty quick. We got beat up pretty bad. Walter Grant was our quarterback. Terry Rubley, John Quinn was a fresh, real wet behind the ears kid when we got there. So after the season was over, Donnie, set us all down and said, "Guys, we've got to get better. We got to get better athletes. We got to get better players. We need skilled players, and we need to go out and get them. Earl Bruce's staff had recruited Dwayne Crutchfield. Crutchfield had been the number one player in the state of Ohio. There's a reason Ohio State and Michigan and those guys didn't sign him. He ended up at the junior college where you coached at, which is now 4 years. He ended up at Waldorf. And we all know Dwayne. Dwayne had a very, 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 very strong personality. At Waldorf, he played maybe 3 games, maybe 4 games. But when the weekend would come, Dwayne would go to the coach and say, "I'm going home." And he would just go home and spend the weekend in Cincinnati or the 2 weeks in Cincinnati. And he'd come back on a Thursday and then play the game on Saturday or Friday, whenever it was. So Donnie said, "We got to get him out of that. We got to get him somewhere that is going to be disciplined." And Donnie had a really good friend that was a head coach at Garden City Community College in Garden City, Kansas. So we moved Dwayne to Garden City, and there he blossomed with a lot of discipline, with a lot of people in a truly a cow town. So played fullback, and I was at a game at Butler County Community College because we'd play our games on Saturday. I'd get on an airplane, private plane, and I'd fly from here to wherever Dwayne was playing. And I went to all of his games. The minute our game was over, I was running through the Olsen building, grabbing my stuff. We had a guy here in town that had a twin Beechcraft, and I'd climb in that thing, and away we'd go. So wherever Dwayne was playing, I was there that year. From the fullback position that night, he rushed for 325 yards. I'm standing there watching this going, "Oh, my God. What an absolute Adonis." He was amazing. And so, anyway, the rest of the story is that of course, we were on the quarter system back then. And so junior college player could not sign a letter of intent. He could agree to come to your school, but he was not really officially a part of your institution under an NCAA rules then until he went to class, signed up, enrolled, went to class. So until March, Dwayne was a free agent. And it was my job to make sure that we secured it. So I basically, from the time February, the signing day ended, I lived in Cincinnati. I had a place there, and I got to know his grandpa, grandma, mom, dad, cousin, girlfriends, you name it. I would sit on his porch with his granddad in the evenings, and we'd drink a bourbon and smoke a cigar, and we'd wait till Dwayne got home. Sometimes it'd be midnight, but I was still there. And I'd sit there on that porch, and a car would drive up, and guy'd get out and walk up that walk. He'd say, "Hello, I need to see Dwayne." And granddad said, "Well," he says, "I want you to meet Coach Hudson, Dwayne's coach from Iowa State." Guys from, I'm telling you, coaches from all over the country walked up those steps. And Dwayne's granddad would say, "I want you to meet Dwayne's coach, Clarence Hudson from Iowa State." He wasn't going to let anybody talk to Dwayne. And so we ended up getting Dwayne, and he came in the spring practice or spring workouts in that March of 80. So he was something.
Oh man, I can remember just being a little high school kid from Southern Iowa and going up there, and he would have been his senior year, I believe. Maybe his junior.
Then 81.
Yes.
Then 81.
You were a freshman his senior year.
Yeah. Yes. So, but just the physical presence this guy had. I mean, you were right. What his thighs and he was an Adonis. He just, and man, did that guy run hard. It wasn't like, you've seen a lot of guys. It's not like a bodybuilder playing football. This dude was a footballer. Man, did he run hard.
Yeah, we were playing, I forget. Maybe it was West Texas State, which is now out of El Paso, same school, just different name. And we were playing them. I think it was at home. First game of the season. It may have been a California team. We were playing, but Dwayne took the ball off the right side, hopped the line of scrimmage about the 30-yard, out 30. And, Californians are fast. They got really quick people. And all of a sudden, Dwayne hits that line of scrimmage, and he's past the linebacker. And he makes a move on the corner, and the safety has got an angle on him. And he outruns the safety in an end zone, 70-yard touchdown. That everybody was like, it was an eye-opener. Lots of stories. Let me tell you a quick story. Dwayne was also he was very contrary, So he tried to pull that deal on us about going home. We were going to Colorado. We were 3-0, 4-0, 5-1-1. I don't know. I remember we were going to Colorado, and Dwayne comes to my office on a Wednesday, and he said, "Coach, I'm going home." And I said, "You're going to do what?" He said, "I want to go home." And I said, "Dwayne, you can't go home. I mean, we got a game Saturday." He said, "Yeah, Coach." He said, "You can beat Colorado without me." And I said, "But you're part of the team." No, you can't do that. And I don't know if you guys. He was supposed to have a shoulder injury, and he pouted the rest of the week. Pouted on the plane going up there. We played horribly. We got beat. So after the game, of course, no one's happy. That was the year Tommy Ross, I thought, was going to die of heat stroke at halftime. It was 80 degrees in Colorado that year, and when we went up there, and it was probably, we had practiced in Ames in 30-degree weather. So we get up there, it's 80 degrees at that high altitude, and I go in at halftime, and they got Tom Roach laid out on the training table with ice bags stacked on him. I thought he was going to die of a heat stroke. It was hot that day. But we get on the bus after the game, and we're ready to come home. And this is just one of the incidents where I had to be embarrassed. We sit there, and everybody's wondering why we're not leaving. Now, after the game, I made sure that I wasn't on Donnie's bus. I made sure whatever bus he got on, I wasn't on, all right? Because we had played horribly. So I was sitting on the back bus, and I look up, and here comes Donnie down the bus rows. And now this is not the first time he's come to me and said, "Clarence, where's Dwayne?" But he comes up, steps up steps of the bus, and he leans over and he says, "Clarence, where's Dwayne?" "Coach, I don't know." He says, "Go find him." So I have to go find Dwayne. And this is 30 minutes after the game's over, after everybody's showered. We're on the bus. The charter plane's ready to go. So I go back down the stairs. I go into the locker room. It's empty. There's nobody there. I walk all the way down, and I get right up there where the showers are. There sits Dwayne Crutchfield, naked as a jaybird, sitting on the bench with his head in his hands. And I can't tell you what I said and how I finally got him to get dressed and get up and get on the bus. And that was at Colorado. The next week, he rushed for 214 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, he was that way. He was something, man. If you got him fired up, he could play. But boy, I tell you, there were times that you don't know about that were really trying to this man's soul.
Coach, you got to tell the story about Dwayne Crutchfield down at Oklahoma.
Oh, my goodness.
When Donnie made you go get him again. You got to tell the story.
81.
Yeah, he wanted to play that day.
Oh, boy, did he ever want to play that day. 81, we're going to Oklahoma, and we've got a really good football team. And, of course, they, have a good football team. And this is our opportunity. Donnie's going home. Of course, I'm from Oklahoma. I'm going home. It was Gerald's going home. Charlie Sadler's going home. I mean, and Mac Brown was trying to get a job at Oklahoma. So it was really important that we – Mac was always trying to get a job. Wherever we played, Mac wanted to be the head coach. So he was always very nice and fired up and wanted to do a great job wherever we went. So we get down there. We're out on the field. We warm it up. We do the hup, 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 and we sit down and do the stretches and everything. So we're all stretching. The music's playing. The crowd's going on. I'm walking between the lines. Your coach is walking. "Hey, baby, let's go. It's time to go today." And I hear Donnie say, "Clarence." I look up. He says, "Get Dwayne." I went, get Dwayne up. He should be sitting there stretching. Well, he wasn't. I look over my shoulder, and Dwayne Crutchfield is walking between the lines of the Oklahoma football players. They're down doing their stretches too. And he has gotten up and walked to their side of the 50. And he's giving them the why comes and how fars, because we're going to whoop your ass today, he kept saying. It was the damnest thing I've seen. So I have to go down and get him and come back. And let me tell you something. 32 carries, 179 yards was Dwayne Crutchfield that day. I mean, it was, what play are you going to run? Dwayne left and Dwayne right. And I'm telling you, he pounded them so hard. Their number one linebacker who signed a pro contract and played several years, I can't remember his name. I always thought it was Boswell, but it wasn't Boswell. It was Schumann.
Jackie Ship.
It was Jackie Ship. It was Jackie Ship. And I think someone said, did we not block a linebacker that day? Well, we didn't intentionally not block a linebacker that day. The scheme was to block the linebacker, but they had a very good defensive line, so we couldn't. So he was unblocked lots of times. For that 179 yards, probably 130 of it, Dwayne drug him 4 or 5 yards, and he pounded him into the dirt. And I remember standing on the sideline about the middle of the third quarter, and Ship, we're down on about the 20-yard line, and Ship is walking on their sideline. He's been taken out of the game, and he's walking down the sideline, and he takes his helmet and he throws it in the stands 40 or 50 feet while he's walking toward the bench. I mean, Dwayne had just completely defeated him that day. And we basically, the game ended up in a tie that day, 6-6, but that would have been our chance to beat Oklahoma the first time in 20 years. Yeah,
that was something.
It's one of the great games, I think. If we'd have won the game, I think it would have went down as one of the great games in Iowa State's history.
I believe that, yeah.
We missed the field goal, and that made the difference.
Probably should have gone for it 4th and 1 at the 1 with Dwayne.
Oh, we were down there, and we ran it. I think we were 1st and goal from the 5, and we handed it to him, and he pounded it, and we handed it to him, and it was a minute 16 to go in the game. We kicked the field goal. They got to go running the wishbone, 80 yards. So kicking the field goal was the right choice because we would have won the extra point, actually, after we scored. Would have been the right choice. But we didn't. And we ended up losing the game. So that was one of the great games. And the other great game, let me tell you this story. The other great game was against the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. You all had their number. As a staff, you had their number.
Oh, we were chomping at the bits. We go over there in 79, and of course they beat us 30-14. We weren't ready to play. We being outsiders, we had the rivalry wasn't in our souls at that time. Even though Donnie and Hayden knew each other, they were both from Texas. They both coached high school in Texas. Hayden had coached at SMU, and Donnie had coached around that area and at Oklahoma, so they knew each other very well. So Hayden's reputation in Iowa grew to a status of being an icon, and he is. He did a great job at Iowa, but in Texas, he was sort of a little bit of a joke before he became this great coach at the University of Iowa. Before that, he'd coached at SMU, and then he ended up at North Texas in Denton. But he was sort of a joke in Texas. But man, he changed that around. But they're coming. We go over there and play, get beaten in 79. Donnie comes back, and Donnie says, "We're going to win the game in 80." Because when they signed the contract to renew the series, all the games were going to be in Iowa City. They had not scheduled a game in Ames. And Donnie said, "We're going to win because I can't go fight for this if we don't win." So we win in 80. I'm not going back to Iowa City. They will have to come here. So we go over there in 80, and we managed to pull off a victory. And it was a tough one. It was a fight right down to the end. And I think the last play of the game, they're on the 20-yard line, and they throw a pass in the end zone, and Joel Jensen, the linebacker.
George Jessen.
George Jessen dives. I mean, the ball is in the guy's belly, and Jessen knocks it out. And that was the final play of the game, and we beat him over there. So, hey, it's their Rose Bowl year, 81, and they're coming to our place. And they will tell you what the record attendance is at Iowa State these days, but they didn't count everybody that was at that game.
No, I was at that game.
They didn't count everybody that showed up at that game because let me tell you, there was it looked like a bowl. There were so many people on the hill, on both sides, all the way around. This was an epic battle. And we had yes, sir. We had we had scouted them pretty good, and we knew a lot of their tendencies, and we had put a play in for them, especially was called 47 outside. Now 47 was a tailback lead play off the left side where Seabrook. We double team block out. Seabrook blocks linebacker. Dwayne takes the ball up off the left tackle. But we called it 47 outside because we knew Iowa slanted to the field. They always slanted to the tight end. So we were on the left hash. We knew they were going to slant to the field toward the tight end and toward the field. So the 47 outside was both the fullback and tailback would step to the right. The blocking stayed the same. They stepped to the right. John Quinn rolled out, handed the ball to Crutchfield, and we turned, and it was an automatic cutback. That's what it was. And we cut it back, and when we did it, it was the first play after the kickoff from our 20-yard line, and we blocked it. They slanted. We shoved them to the right, their left. Jack Seabrook cut the linebacker down, and Dwayne Crutchfield went right down the hash. And he was storming Norman, boy. Looked like a big old fighting bull running down the middle of the field. And the crowd, I've never heard anything like it. The crowd was so loud. It just went up in the air and just screaming their head off. Dwayne had a choice about the 30-yard line. If he started running to his left and angled toward the pylon, he would probably score. But he looks to his right, and there comes a free safety. And the free safety was Bobby Stoops. And Bobby Stoops was coming to make the tackle. Now, I'm sure in Bobby's brain, he thought every running back was going to do, or Dwayne was going to do what every running back did, was turn and try to run to the pylon. He was going to run behind him, grab him by the legs, and tackle him. Well, Dwayne didn't do that. When Dwayne saw him, he thought it was like he had a red cape on. It was like Dwayne was a bull in the bullfighting ring. And when he looked over there and saw him, he turned right instead of left. And when he hit him, he rolled him up like one of those windows when you pull it down and turn it loose and it goes. He hit him so hard, he just rolled him up down the turf. And the crowd, which I couldn't believe, got even louder. Yeah. And from that point on, I think they scored with no time left on the clock at the end of the first half. And they scored with maybe a few seconds to go in the game at the end of the second half, and we beat them 23-12.
Yeah,
and that was the year they went to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. And that, you're right, Coach. The leading up to that game, they wouldn't play in Ames.
Nope.
And
it was part of the contract.
First game in Ames.
Yeah, it was part of the contract.
First game in Ames.
The representative from that was the deciding vote was a University of Iowa graduate, and the only way he would vote for it was if the first 4 games were played in Iowa City.
Yeah. And if I recall, they had those. We took some 4x4s and put them in some old oil barrels with some cement for the goalposts because they knew that the goalposts were going to get torn down at some point. And
they tore them down and hauled it off to
Lincoln Way and Lake
Laverne, isn't it?
Yeah.
They drug that thing all the way to Lake Laverne and just dumped it. Oh, that was it was a great time.
Coach Duncombe had them leave the scoreboard on all night. Because I know we were at the cave-in all night.
All night.
He left that scoreboard on all night. And he did it, it was important, that game. We made it. Really, it was for in-state recruiting report. It was very important. And you just think now it's just a rivalry as a kid, as a 19-year-old kid, you think it's just a rivalry. But as a staff, you guys really emphasized it. And in fact, I remember Ron Watson our recruiting coordinator would fly in on a helicopter in the middle of the practice field and get out dressed as Hayden Fry and just go around to each position group and talk shit. We were ready to play. You all had it as a staff.
It was. You know, I worked at a couple of good places in my career, and one of them was the number one place that I worked was Iowa State. Number two is at Rouen. But the most fun, the most, we were brothers. We were brothers, and we had a bond, and we were bound and determined. And I will tell you, we coached hard. We coached hard. There was not a slacker on that staff that didn't know his job, that didn't understand that if I don't do my job, and this is the thing about coaching, and I have a little company now that's called Foxfield Strategies, and we do management training and team building. And one of the things that businesses, and I've worked in a lot of businesses. I worked for a German company. I worked for a couple of transportation companies. I ran the largest sporting organization in the state of Iowa. I've been around business people. And the one thing that businesses don't have, and if anyone could ever grasp that idea, is how tight and how close and how determined and how committed a football staff is to the cause. I mean, football staffs, you can't have someone on the staff that says, well, I know we run the I, but man, I tell you what, we'd be a much better team if we run the wishbone or ran the veer, and continuously talked about doing something different other than what coach wanted to do. And that head coach, and when everyone decided this is our game plan, everybody went out to execute that game plan to the utmost of their ability. And they tried their best to get their players to do the same thing. And no coach I've ever seen in my life wants a player to fail. There are a lot of bad coaches out there. We know them. We've seen them. We've maybe had to even play for them, Keith. Yeah. But the ones I know and just understand when they're working with a player, when they're working with young men, their whole goal is to have them succeed. Now, we may yell and scream. I know Jason Jacobs one practice probably didn't think I wanted him to succeed. But when you go the wrong way on 32 3 times in a row in a scrimmage, that's kind of crazy. I don't understand that. So
I get it. Hey, Coach, we got to take a quick break here. We've kind of gone a little farther on some of our time that we had. I forgot that they have Cy of the Storm coming up next in the studio. So we kind of got to cut part of this down. But
okay,
we got a quick break. We're going to come back. You get to make a rule.
I got it.
Whatever rule you want, you can change it. It's on you.
Okay. All right.
Here we go. Take us away, Sean.
This is the Storm Anchor Amendment, where our guest steps behind the podium and makes one rule change to reshape college sports. No limits, no red tape, just their decree.
Coach?
It was a real quick break.
It was a real quick break. That's hilarious.
Not as long as that last one.
Yeah, right. You know, that last one was a little bit long. So I guess we should tell him how long. 30 seconds. So
he's telling that. There he is, I think.
And we went on a real quick break.
I noticed that. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Hey, it's your rule. You do whatever you want. So that's our part. It's your stage. Whatever rule you see in college sports of any type or professional sports, you want to change the rule, you got to change the rule.
Targeting. I do away with it today. Get rid of it. It's crazy. I mean, it puts a referee in a situation. It puts a referee in a no-win situation. It's what it does. The running backs coming out, quarterbacks running, receivers trying to catch, defensive back. You notice that the only ones that usually get kicked out of the game is the defensive backs.
Right.
I mean, they're coming at you at 15, 20 miles an hour. You're up in the air. Their job is to not let you catch the ball. And if you catch the ball, their next job is to try to dislodge the ball from you. And the only way you can do that is with power. And they're coming to hit you. And it's not to cause injury, but in the football vernacular, hey, you come out here in my zone, I want to hurt you. I want you to know I'm here. And so I'm going to hit you as hard as I can. And so what happens is I have that mindset, and I've been taught that. And that's the game. It's a violent game. And targeting is just, it's one of those things that just infuriates me that they put in the game today. Because, yeah, okay, you want to protect players, and yeah, you want to stop injuries, but that's not the way to do it.
Not kicking somebody out, that's for sure. I mean, it's
hey, give them a 15-yard penalty, make them set out a play. I don't know, but to kick someone out of a game and in most cases, it's just a football play.
Yeah,
it's just a football play, and there's nothing the guy can do about it except, I don't know, let him catch the pass, targeting. Yeah. That's what I'd get rid of. That's the first thing.
Yeah. Coach, it's been a pleasure. Unfortunately, I forgot about the Side of the Storm coming up, which is a live show covering the basketball part. But we know that there's another show in you, and there's another time that we need to talk about more things that are going on, because you've been integral in the sports world in the state of Iowa as a business leader, as a developer of men, great family. You do so many things for so many people, and we just feel like we need to have you on another time. We'd love to have a show with all of the different guys that we talked about on the staff, honoring Coach Duncan, because he was a hell of a man, a hell of a person, and that should not go unnoticed.
Yeah, he was a great man. And I'm sorry I was long-winded, guys.
No, that's exactly what we wanted.
Awesome. If I may, Keith, I just want to echo that, Coach. You know, you talked about your high school counselor recognizing, kind of spurring you on to go to junior college and all those things to spur you on life. You did a lot of that for us. I mean, Keith and I didn't play at your position group. And like I said, we would have loved to if you wouldn't have wanted us. But, you know, Coach, you had such an impact on people like us and just all of our teammates. I mean, they're chiming in and just, the chats, just, we love you. And you're just an awesome human being, and it's just great to connect, and we want to have you back, and we'll try to do some things with, regarding Coach Duncan and that staff.
Well, thank you. And I got to put a plug in.
Sure.
Read my book. Amazon, Making Your Life Worth It. It's I've gotten a lot of good reviews from it, and everybody says it's really not about me. It's about a lesson in life and how to overcome and how to persevere. And failure is not fatal.
Right.
Just remember that. And if you've been a player, if you've been on a sports team, you're going to lose, but you got to get up, go work hard, and come back the next day and be positive and go do your thing. Failure is not fatal. Failure is not fatal. So I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Coach.
It tickles me. And I love both of you. You know that.
Can't wait to see you soon, Coach. I'll call you in the morning. You got it.
Yes, please. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome, dude. We could have gone.
I was getting fired up when he's talking about that game with Crutch. That's just an impressionable young freshman at that time. But yeah, we had quite a squad, and he's quite a man.
Sean, sorry we went a little long today, but maybe we need to build in some extra time down the road. So, Kent, I'm sure I'll talk to you this week. Have a great week out there selling that metal shingles and all the stuff you do, and I'll try to sell it plastic. So, have a great one.
All right. Thank you. Now.
We're we're tracking the storm, watching it form from Crutchfield's grind to Troy's 2K storms. Seneca spinning through the rain and roar, turning third and long to forevermore. From Jack's I will to the Campbell years, we build up hope out of heartbreaking tears. Yeah, the line holds strong and the fate's reborn. We're keeping eyes on tomorrow by tracking the storm. Here comes Johnny Orr, fist up in the air. Tonight's show theme and that Hilton stare. Took a quiet Coliseum, turned it into a spare. Where top 25 giants learn to fear this well. Hilton magic swirling like a cyclone wind. We're nine on the pivot, made the rafters spin. Step back, jumper, drive down the lane.